Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 799, Gary and Richard are here. We've got lots to talk about. A bit of retro computing. I managed to get my QL out of the loft. We're talking about that and my synthesizer projects. We'll be talking future stuff, Microsoft acquisitions and new builds of Windows 10 and some of the stuff coming back in that. We've got smart home chat, EV chat and lots more. So let's get straight to Richard and Gary. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Ian.
And it's actually, I was quite happy today. Managed to get both my vaccines booked in. So NHS website, a few errors on it, but managed to get through there. So I think it held up quite well.
Yes, me too. I was able to log in and get myself booked in. So yeah, we're on track for going to visit the Computer Museums in summertime.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, definitely. I am looking forward to that. I'll be happy to produce my vaccine passport.
I'll just show my swollen arm. Oh, hurt arm.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, because I need to get to those museums because I wanted to get some of my kit working. I decided on, when I think sort of bugging you on the back of your mind has been for ages, and my loft has been, just more and more stuff gets dumped up there. You might, every time I get something to review or I get a Surface laptop, the box goes up there, and I think, well, I might need the box. You never know, and HD home run tuner and all this kind of stuff. I stopped using it. I just go in the loft, and it was getting a bit ridiculous. So on Saturday I went up there and got a load of stuff down, which is why I've got the Spectrum 128. Oh, is it +2?
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah, I can see the built-in cassette player as well. It's all there.
Yeah, and that works. It all still works. But what I still haven't quite figured out is how I'm going to connect these up to the monitors. They're a bit easier because they've not got TV tuners. They have composite, but I've got my favourite thing down here.
There's the QL. You see, I like the QL because the QL is kind of the last kind of Sinclair shape.
Yeah, I prefer this design to the.
Yeah, because that keyboard was it the 128 Plus or the 48 Plus that had that that keyboard as well?
Yeah, they were basically that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the whole heatsink on the side. I don't know if EQL had the same heatsink on the side.
It's plastic. It looks like a heatsink, but it's plastic. Because this is the one with this model has the ROM inside instead of hanging out the back like the initial models.
The QL. Whatever happened to the QL? Because I really wanted a QL when I was a kid because they look so cool, but they were like rare as hen's teeth, and of course there were never any really good software packs for them. I mean, is there a hobbyist community around them?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and there's even I think one of the guys we had on the show a few weeks ago wrote an emulator for the Spectrum emulator for it, but there is, and I've got some programs up in the loft for them. Do you remember though? When they came out, they were £499, I think.
They were really expensive, really.
And when I was Spectrum was like £120.
Exactly, it was such a big jump up in the Spectrum. But of course, it did include things like the microdrive and stuff, which you didn't get on the Spectrum. So, I guess once you kind of bought all the stuff for the Spectrum, was it two? Yeah, two on the QL. So once you bought those for the Spectrum, the price would increase, but still the QL was an impressive beast for the time, as I recall. But I seem to recall that they're having problems making them.
Yes, they did. That's what I was alluding to on the back there. On the back, the original ones had the ROM hanging out the back because there was a bug, or there was some issues with the ROM, and they had to sort of patch them and. So they were like, falling out the back like that. So that's what that was for, was the extra ROMs on that. I don't think it was ever used for anything else other than the initial launch models, which were defective and had to have this patch ROM on there. But a great machine in looks and feel. But if you were trying to step up from your Spectrum, there wasn't the games, so it wasn't really a home machine, and it priced at the same price as a BBC Micro, so it wouldn't really get in the education market. And I think Amstrad probably cut it from the other end around word processors. You could get the Amstrad CPWs with it.
Yeah. Well, the CPCs and the PCWs. Yeah, the CPCs
yeah.
were the home computer. The PCWs were the word processors. Yeah. I mean, the PCW 825685129 9512. They were amazing machines at the time, because I think then it was like 300 quid, 400 quid would get you the machine. It had the screen, it had the disk drive, it had the printer, everything. It was everything you needed for for an office back then. Although now, of course,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's why. So the QL failed again for various reasons. Had it had a compatibility spectrum compatibility mode, it probably would have fared better. But then it would have never have got the business market, which is what they were after. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a
real shame because we've obviously had a Motorola chip inside, didn't it? So I mean, if being able to perhaps sort of condense the spectrum down to only a few chips, and they could have perhaps just shoved that hardware in there as well, then maybe it would have. But as you say, the problems with backwards compatibility in that way might have stopped people from developing software for it. So tricky one, really.
And of course, it's got the brilliant thing that Sinclair love to do. So, like the power connector is a non-standard power connector. The network are audio jacks. The serial ports are BT phone sockets, and the two controller ports are BT phone sockets as well. So no RS-232 port. Although I think they are RS-232, but they're not 9-pin DIN. They are literally the old BT phone ports. If anybody recognises those, you can. So yeah, a curio rather than anything else. I think now.
Yeah, so it didn't take off, but yeah, that keyboard does remind me of the last of the Sinclair Spectrums too, before they were shoehorned into what looks really like the Amstrad case.
Yeah, I would like to get it was the 128 plus, wasn't it? 128 was just, and then the 48K plus was the one with the. Yeah.
I mean, my memory of that is really just that heatsink on the side used to get so hot, that metal heatsink.
Yeah. So of course the final thing really to get, I've got the power supplies and everything. I can get this up and running. Is I've just got to connect it up somehow. So the reason why I was mentioning we were talking about cables before, is it's got a DIN socket on there, so I guess I can get DIN, but I need to get DIN to HDMI. But that should be easier than going through the UHS. So
no, I'm sure. I mean, it can be tricky going to HDMI. I mean, the adapters can be. It won't be a straight thing. It'd be easier if you had a TV that's got RGB in, perhaps.
Yeah, that's. I've got an RG. I've got a VGA. Maybe analog VGA might work.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Again, I'm just speaking off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure what comes out of that QL thing, but I would think there'll be something in there which you can use for RGB. I would think, which would quite
yeah. I would imagine you can get because that is RGB. So RGB to something, I can probably probably even get a cable off eBay or something that will do the job for that.
Yeah.
Good evening, Gary.
Good evening. Oh, that was fun. Teams has been its usual interesting self tonight.
Oh, great. Well, welcome. We were just trying to figure out how I'm going to get my QL connected up. And the reason why I mentioned that is because I've been in the loft, so I've got my QL out. I also, just over here, I got my 1990 Boss RE1000 digital reverb, which I got patched up over the weekend, which sounds very nice. And I found a load of my old tapes as well. So I thought, I'm going to have a listen to these. So I got my old tape player out of the loft, but it didn't work. So I actually don't have a tape player in the house to listen to some of those. But I did get a ball. I wish I should have took a picture. A ball of cable, and that was like that big or something like that. Just a ball of cables that I haven't used for 20 odd years. So I put that straight in the bin. But I do know that one of those cables in the bin now will be one of the ones that I need probably next week or something. Having not touched it for 20 years, but I have to make the sacrifice and get rid of stuff.
Absolutely. I have crates and crates of cables here that I've collected over the last 30 years. And I know in there is a cable. As soon as it goes in the bin, I'm going to need it.
Yeah.
But how I would find it, I have no idea. Yeah, I should really. I mean, I do go through phases of itemizing them out and sort of putting them into little bags and things and noting on the bag what they are. And then they'll go back in the box again. So
Yeah.
I was digging around the other day and actually found my old Roland D110.
Oh, the D110. I used to have a D20.
Yeah.
Lovely. I wish I hadn't sold that one actually, because and of course it's got fantastic demo tracks. I always loved those.
Yeah.
I think D110's got those.
Yeah, D110's great. It's a great bit of kit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, D110 is lovely. So there's the so the boss thing is there, all patched in now with the digital reverbs on it. So I've got the contact cleaner as well, which ready for the Gen SX1000 restoration project.
I was going to ask how that project's going.
So I haven't started yet. I just got the contact cleaner, so it's there behind me, all ready to go. And I'm going to see if I can get the broken key 3D printed. So I just showed this last week, but it has a broken key on the end down here. So I'm going to see if I can get one 3D printed that will, so I can repair that. So yeah, so I think that's my plan. So I think maybe this weekend I'm going to start that, and yeah. So I've got everything patched in at the moment as well. So
I wonder how long it will be before you see things like that appearing on that BBC show, The Repair Shop. And they say, today on The Repair Shop, Ian Dixon's doggy old ZX81.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need a new ULA. Probably not that long. I mean, you're talking. I mean, that keyboard, it was 1978. There's ZX81. He's 90. He's what, 40, nearly 40. Well, he's 40 years old, isn't it? So, this is old stuff that we're talking about now. And when I pulled that reverb out the loft, I thought, well, I'm really not bothered about anything new. I just want to set my vintage stuff up. And then I thought, oh, it's 1990. I guess that is vintage. So yeah, so I've been going through.
What's the stat? I think the stat is that the film Apollo 13 is closer to the actual events of Apollo 13 than it is to today. Something like that I read somewhere. That was depressing.
I also actually, this is a little curio. This is a audio cassette, the demo of the DX100, which I have over there, and it's the thing that you used to get when you were thinking of buying a keyboard or a synthesizer. You would send off for a demo tape, and it's a little audio demonstration. I sent off for this in 1986, and I found this. I thought, well, I'll play it, but like I said, no tape player. So maybe I should take this stuff with me to one of the computer museums when we go. So can I borrow your tape player?
Yeah. I told you. If you send it to me, I do have a tape player, and I'll record it for you, because my wife is hugely into her 80s, 90s dance music, and she's got hundreds of mixtapes, hundreds. And so we have a whole range of old cassette players, because it can't bear the thought of parting with the mixtapes. But I can scan it, I can digitize it quite easily.
Oh, that's a good idea. And I've got another one here. I might take you up on that, because this is a Boots C15 cassette.
Oh, now you're talking.
Wow.
And what's on it?
And what's on it is, it says me 88. So I presume it's something I recorded on the keyboards in 1988 onto this cassette.
On a C15. Oh, okay.
On a C15, yeah. I wasn't being overly ambitious. I wasn't trying to recreate Dark Side of the Moon in those days, then, I guess, because if it was going for a C15. Yeah, so Boots cassettes, they were brilliant, weren't they? Boots tape player. So that's what I did with my Saturday. I have now I have got rid of some of the cardboard packaging on some things. I think I really am not going to need the packaging for some of these video players that that I've got and stuff like that. So I found my Acer UMPC, and I found quite a lot of bits of stuff, but I've put them back in the box in some boxes now. So they're so at least I've got a rough idea where they are now, because I think that's the hardest thing. So my next project is, once done the music stuff, is I'm going to get the QL and everything else connected up to my my monitors, so I can start playing on them again. But yeah, the music stuff is where I'm at the moment, and I'm actually, what's really nice is I've got this game up and running and working and actually using it, and it's quite fun just having the virtual instruments and the real things, and as much as I love the technology, the real things just are so playable and hands-on, and that's why I've got everything plugged in at the moment, because there's something that you just can't get from from a virtual instrument on a screen that you can get from real things with your hands on. Right. Well, anyway, that's a slight diversion from what.
Good diversion.
Yeah, I do like my old music tech. So Gary, that D110, Cherry, look, make sure you get that plugged in. Look
It's
after
working.
that.
No, I've tried it. It's working. I've got an old MIDI keyboard as well, which is not quite so working quite so well. Some of the keys on there have got a bit funny, but yeah, the D110 is working really well.
Yeah, I had fetched quite a bit now. I was on the, not as much as like the 20s or the 50s, but the rack mounts, aren't they? But still, what I did notice, the prices of vintage stuff is going up. I mean, obviously because the age, they're going up and up, but they've shot up a lot. Really, even the vintage like the QLs and things like that. Look at the prices of them; they're really expensive now, and even things like the 110, D110, any of the musical kit from the 90s is getting really expensive, and especially as people reminisce about, like you said, about those mixtapes and the 90s dance mixes and things, and some of the kit that was used to make that now is retro, and that now is becoming expensive as well. So as time progresses and people get reminiscing about the stuff from 20-30 years ago, then that kit gets expensive. So if you've got any old retro kits, definitely hang on to it, because the values are going up. You've just got to make sure you maintain them, or go and look at them at a computer museum like we'll do this summer.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, I think that's our plan. Now, there was some other stuff I wanted to talk about today. I just noticed we've just got an incremental update for 21H1 that's come down the line it's Patch Tuesday.
Yeah, it's patch time.
Yeah, there's a lot of patches on for this Patch Tuesday, aren't there? There, aside from the Windows Insider ones, but there's a huge amount of changes to just to the release version of Windows. I think it was like 100 and odd security vulnerabilities or something that they've been patched.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, just before we started recording, actually, I don't know what they've done, but one of my PCs has decided it no longer has a boot device after installing some of the patches. So I'm going to be doing some checking to see what's going on. Just a reminder, it is one of my PCs. It's an insider rig, and I expect this sort of thing to happen. So it's just, but yes, it basically installed the patch, restarted. It's now saying please insert boot disk. I think, oh, that's not gone well.
Yeah, my Surface Go, I remember when that did that, and that took a bit of fiddling around, so much so that I got an article out of it because I found a solution. But when you first see it, it's quite frightening to see the. So the updates are for the beta and release preview channels, still on the same. Beta and release preview is still the same.
Yeah, but I guess as it should be 21H1, because I guess they'll stay there until 21H1 actually does a final releases. I guess that's going to happen presumably now in May around build time, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, build is probably about time, and we've got Gary back in vision as well. Oh, we're not audio, just we can see you, Gary, but we can't hear you. Yeah, I think
it stays off. No one needs to see me. It's fine.
yeah. So I hope. Yeah, this. Yeah, I think you're probably right. May time. I think it's virtually done now. So and then this will shift down to release, and then beta will maybe get whatever's coming next.
Yeah, well, I mean, fairly soon we have to start seeing some 21H2 things. Really, it's time's marching on, and if it's going to be as big a release as they keep talking about, then it's getting a bit short, really. Because obviously the developers need access to it in order to test their stuff out and play with the supposedly new toys. So yes, time's starting to march on.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I know a lot of developers are getting angsty about this.
and quite rightly so. It's a bit like the whole Windows 10X thing, which is becoming a bit of a fiasco in how delayed it's been, because that's a fairly major change of architecture. So you can't roll these things out and expect developers support without giving them at least stuff to play with beforehand. And it's been such a long time since you saw any new 10X stuff. So got high hopes for build at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see.
We better.
Because we did get a build last week for.
Yes, the dev channel build. This is a build 21354, I think, isn't it?
Yep, that's it. Yeah, which using interest is back.
Yeah. Although, well, I mean, I'll say it's actually disappeared from my rig now. Although, of course, the machine I was testing on has died. So it might be back. It might not be back. I don't know what's happened to it.
Yeah. So and also we've shifted across to the CO release branch and not the RS pre-release that we were on, which they did last year just before they got 20H2 out. Now, whether it's coincidence, I don't know, but yeah, that's what they did last year. So I think that's what we're getting ready for. Is so maybe all the really fancy stuff is now in RS pre-release, and we're not going to see that yet until they're ready to talk about it. Maybe that's a conspiracy theory.
Well, I mean that would certainly make sense. But as I say, they've got their builders coming up in May, their big build event. That is the time when I would expect this stuff to be announced and made available, definitely. So about 4 to 6 weeks to go.
And the news and interest, the main thing was around the personalization. There's quite a lot you can do with that now. You can fiddle around with that and get rid of some news sources, so you can hide certain news sources that you perhaps not trustworthy. Although I couldn't find a way of adding your own. You still are stuck with their content providers.
I mean, I'm still not 100% sure of what the point of this is really. In terms of they do bang on about it very loudly in all their builds, but I mean, I think as you said before, I think more likely it's a way of them trying out the underlying plumbing to see if things work. Yeah,
it does seem they do seem very keen on it, and it's one of those things that nobody's ever asked for. I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they are very interested. They are very keen on it, and they do like to talk about it. And I like it for the weather and for occasional headlines. But I tend to. My habit would be to go to BBC News or something like that if I wanted to read the news rather than these.
But I guess one of the reasons they were keen on this is that it's one of the few places they can push advertising.
Yes, yeah, because let's face it, it's either that or Bing. I mean, they did flirt with putting ads in Windows Explorer, didn't they? In File Explorer places, which I think didn't go down too well. Yeah, you're right. It is a good place to push things. Although I don't think there's many ads in there yet. Although I suppose things like the Bloomberg pieces and whatever are all sponsored, aren't they? So
sponsored pieces. It's a way of earning revenue for the Windows platform, which is something they perhaps need to do.
Someone's got to pay for these new features we're on.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, that new icon for Paint's not going to pay for itself.
No, there you go. You can see the new icon there. Also, there was some work done on cameras, so you can set up network cameras. I think you could change some config settings on cameras as well. They've changed some stuff around the Linux subsystem, but yeah,
I would say that the biggest change is a bit like it follows on from the Notepad change of recently, where they've obviously now moved Paint to well, it's still an inbox app, but it can now be updated via the Microsoft Store, which I think that's probably the biggest change of note, I think, this time around. So rather than waiting for an update of Windows to update these inbox apps, it will now be done via the store, which they promised they were going to do years ago when they threatened to pull Paint completely. But since Paint 3D hasn't perhaps taken off as well as they might have hoped, Paint is still there. Mm-hmm. I mean, is Paint 3D being pulled at some point? Did you read that, or?
It's not said that, but the 3D, the emphasis of 3D, which was part of the creators update, wasn't it? That was that where all this came down. It's no longer got a special folder for 3D objects.
Exactly, and Paint 3D was never really. I mean, it did some interesting things, but it didn't really do all the things that Paint did as well. It felt trying to bend it to do the stuff that one used to do with Paint felt quite difficult. Whereas Paint is just a quick and easy, effectively a bitmap editor. That's all it was, or it is.
Yeah, I suppose it's a Paint 3D is kind of not a powerful enough tool for professional graphic designers.
And it's not as simple as Paint.
Yeah, and it's kind of caught in the middle there. I did use it for doing some of the 3D spaces in Windows Mixed Reality. It was quite good for that. But there are other tools that are better at it. But it was just that was the free one that was built in. So Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of caught, and it's a bit like Notepad, isn't it? And Notepad, WordPad, and Word. I don't know who uses WordPad, because you either use you either use Word because you want the full set of words, or you use Notepad because you want the plain text editor.
Yeah, WordPad is a strange one too. I'm surprised that's linked on. Although I was quite pleased to see the snipping tool is also in Microsoft Store, because I use the snipping tool a heck of a lot now. It's one of my key go-to tools. I use it all the time for taking bits of screens. Very, very useful tool.
Yeah, I use the snip and sketch one, the new one. But yeah, they are. I thought they might get rid of the old snipping tool, but it looks like they're just going to maintain it through the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, these are minor changes. All these changes that we're talking about feel like another minor update. So I don't know whether, like you said, they're waiting for Build to announce all the big stuff, and then that's when maybe we'll go back to pre-release, and we'll see these things that they're going to talk about at some event, because it feels like if they're going to make big changes to the UI, then that it does deserve an event to be able to show them off and explain the design changes.
Exactly.
And the justification.
And Build would be the perfect time to do that. So
yeah,
I mean, there are some huge changes coming down as well in the Linux world too, with Windows subsystem for Linux. And again, that's been the running graphical Linux apps has been lurking around for months now, just being polished. So that's kind of waiting in the wings to also be launched, and was promised quite some time ago. So yeah, fingers crossed for Build.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so that was the insider builds. So nothing too exciting, but news interesting about, which is good. The other news we had today is the Surface Laptop 4 has been announced.
Yay, Surface Laptop 4. Looks a lot like the Surface Laptop 3, so hopefully the screen won't crack, but the screen won't crack quite so much, we hope. Yeah, so this is a Surface Laptop 4, which was announced today. It's been rumoured for quite a while beforehand. I mean, there've been various leaks and things about what it was going to be, so there was nothing particularly earth-shatteringly surprising about it. I mean, obviously it's got the 11th generation Intel chips inside. What I thought was interesting, and I don't know, Ian, from your enterprise background, was interesting to see the AMD chips now becoming more prominent and also being made available to the business versions, which I thought was interesting. I don't know what Intel are going to make of that, but there was a heavy emphasis on AMD, and they also made quite a lot about the fact that the AMD chips, I think, is it 19.5 hours you can get out of? I think that the slower one, the Radeon, the Ryzen 5, I think, compared to not quite so long for the Intel i5. So I thought that was an interesting comparison to make. And of course, the cheapest Surface Laptop 4, which is $999 or pounds, is a one-to-one conversion. Obviously, that runs with an AMD chip, I believe.
Yeah, it's the Ryzen 5 4680U with 8 gig RAM and 256. So I think that's a step up, isn't it? Because do you remember I complained my Surface 2 has only got 128.
Yeah, the old 128 gig drive is gone, which is I think a blessed relief, because Windows is getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think you can now spec it up to 32 gigs and 1 terabyte, which would have made Jason very happy.
Yeah, I've got the specs on here. So if I decide to build myself the let's say the 15-inch one with the top of the range one is in black, and that comes in at $2,299, the standard price for that one. If you wanted to go with the i7 and 32 gig memory, 1 terabyte, it's a lot of money that for a laptop. It
is a lot of money for a laptop. In fact, the Surface Laptop itself, I mean, obviously you're using the Surface name. It is expensive compared to the alternatives, but of course, there is that Surface branding. There is a halo effect of Surface, so that does help. But yeah, I have to say, I did think it seemed expensive for what was inside the box. It's kind of a refresh of the hardware inside. The screen is still the same gorgeous 3x2 screen, still a touch screen and everything, and it's still got the same, I think, metal case in the Alcantara version too, and they're doing a new color too. I think is it ice blue is the new color you can get as well.
Yeah, ice blue. There you go.
Ice blue. Yeah, so it's a new color, but on the whole, it seemed more like a refresh of the hardware as opposed to anything particularly earth-shattering or revolutionary. So a nice bit of kit, but as you say, quite expensive.
Yeah.
But that wasn't all. That wasn't all, was it? There was more.
No, there's more.
There was more, yes, which I actually found more interesting than the Surface Laptop 4. I have to say, I quite like the modern hardware that was also announced, which I don't think ships until June. And this is just the kind of aimed at home workers, I think, really. So it's the quote modern USB headsets, wireless headsets, and also a USB-C speaker. And at long last, they've upgraded the Microsoft webcam.
Yeah, that's been a while. I found a Microsoft webcam in my loft.
I think I've got one here.
A lifetime.
Me too. I think we've all got one. But of course, it hadn't been upgraded for such a long time. But so this one looks actually like quite a nice device, really. Obviously, most people who are working from home have now got such devices. But I think going forwards, they're all relatively inexpensive. I mean, I think the webcam costs about $70, and I think there's a speaker costs around $100, and the headset is $50 or around that. But I think that's actually probably a more interesting thing, because the Surface Laptop 4, it's the Surface Laptop 4. It's the same. It's kind of warmed over hardware, whereas this stuff is relatively inexpensive, and it's about time too.
Yeah, it's so I've just got it on the screen there. So I actually use for work. I use this. I think this is a Jabra one, which is looks very similar to that. But when you're working from home, you're spending all day on calls. You do really want a nice, comfortable headset. Yeah.
Of course, what I found quite amusing is with this announcement, it kind of coincided with Dell releasing the new Inspiron series, and I did notice that the Inspiron 14, which has got a 11th generation Intel core inside it as well, that starts at 669. Just going to put it out there.
What about the new headphones? The Surface Headphones 2 Plus for business.
That looked to me a lot like the Surface Pro 7 Plus, and I think it's aimed at education and business, isn't it? And it's kind of been modded so it's Teams compatible with a dongle hanging off it, so you can do the various Teams things with the headset. I think that's its main thing. Apart from that, I think it's the same basic headset as a Surface 2.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, with the Teams. Just this Jabra one I've got as a Teams button on it. Doesn't seem to do very much, but yeah, it's got the button.
No, it's bad timing for me, because I actually bought a set of headphones last week because my Logitech one finally died, and I won't be using them now. I'm not, I'm afraid, because the rig they're plugged into has also been Windows inside it, so I've not transferred them to my production machine yet.
Yeah, I think good, nice stuff, and in probably pretty much response to the the amount of home working now, whether we peaked on that, I'm not quite sure. I'd probably not, to be honest. But,
no, well, I mean, as Microsoft does, it's published a lot of reports recently. It looks like it's never going to go away. I mean, there might be some return to offices, but I think hybrid working, as it's being called, does seem to be here to stay now.
Yeah, definitely. That's the word in the hybrid working.
Yeah, which
they mentioned that a lot recently.
Which had been the direction of travel, I think, for many companies. It's just that we've kind of condensed 5 to 10 years of progress into 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, and having the stuff that should just work as well is what you want, because as from my enterprise side, there's loads of headsets out there that you can get, but if you send them to a user who's remote and they plug them in and don't work with Teams, then you might as well just bin them, because it's so hard to do any remote diagnostic on audio type things over any remote connection. So you want something that you can, you might be paying a bit more, but if you order it and you send it, if you order 100 and ship them directly to people's homes, they're just going to work when they get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the definite. So it's definitely a market for those. But I think I would probably not for the Surface headphones, not for me, but I've got the earbuds. But I do like the wired. The wire, you can't beat a good wired one if you start working from home. I use the wireless for when I'm listening to sort of music when I'm working from home. But if I want to do an actual Teams call, I use a wired one, because it's it's just it just works nice and straightforward.
Yeah, I use wired stuff. Most of my stuff is wired because it doesn't need batteries for starters.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you don't have to worry about charging up or anything like that. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you about, Microsoft have they've been shopping, haven't they? They've been on.
They have indeed. Yes, they've bought Nuance, haven't they? Nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the acquisition they announced last. Well, I think it was this week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Nuance, which is, well, it's interesting because I think people will probably remember Nuance for the likes of Dragon, which was
that's it. That's something else we threw away. A Dragon headset. I threw one of those away.
Exactly, and obviously, Dragon, I think, got absorbed into Learn and Houseby, I think, and then they eventually became Nuance and merged with Scansoft. It was kind of companies buying companies, but we're talking sort of 30 years or so worth of acquisitions and things. And in the end, Nuance themselves, they still do the Dragon software, but they pivoted very much towards healthcare. But the thinking being that you could save time by kind of talking to your PC and things or your workstation, and it would fill out things like electronic case reports and health records and what have you. And they last year, 2019. I keep forgetting that 2020 happened. 2019, Nuance signed up with Microsoft to run a bunch of stuff on Azure. Again, Gary, jump in anytime if this is off the top of my head. And that was all very cool. But of course, as of this week, I think Microsoft have decided that really buying Nuance kind of fits in with their plan of industry specific clouds in Azure, and in this case, healthcare, the Microsoft Cloud for healthcare, which appeared last year. And they basically bought Nuance, and they're going to plug Nuance's tech into it, which I think it makes a lot of sense actually. But the price of it, crikey! It's I think in total it's worth $19.7 billion, which is, I think, almost an entire LinkedIn.
It is. But my contacts out who've been, I've spoken to a few people on this, and everybody seems to think that's a really good value for money for what they get, because Nuance have got so much of that space.
Yeah, they have.
And it's almost instant customer base for Microsoft. It's people they can start going to approach with their other bits they can provide in the Health Cloud. Exactly,
because obviously, once you got them, once your customers in with this, you can then start to sell on things like Dynamics and Teams and everything else, and it does. It's a much better fit, I think, from Microsoft than some of the other things which have been rumored over recent weeks or months. This seems to make perfect sense. It's just, that's a lot of money.
So does that mean that I'll be able to get Dragon Dictate now?
It might,
question, actually.
It might mean your dictation in Windows gets a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Health Cloud stuff and all the all the cloud technology is where the market, the money is, and that's why it's worth so much to them.
And also, I think Nuance have got a lot of experience as well around bots and virtual assistants too, and IVR systems. So I would think you'll see it pitching up its tech appearing in various other bits and pieces around Microsoft and enterprise space, particularly in Dynamics and maybe even in Power Apps and things, because it does lend itself well to creating assistants.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're spending some of the cash, but they've got it in the bank because during lockdown there's not been a lot to spend it on.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's good that they're taking healthcare seriously after they killed off the band.
Oh yeah, if only they'd had the band still going and some bands over there. I even found the box too. I found 2 band boxes. I don't think I ever had 2 at the same time. But anyway, I found 2 bands. I thought I don't really need 2 boxed Microsoft bands. So some of the cardboard's got of those as well. I think my house would probably be a bit colder because I've lost some of the insulation from the loft of cardboard boxes of technology boxes in my loft. Yeah, it's a big deal, that, and we've still not heard anything about Discord, have we? But whereas Discord wasn't always sure that made sense, this is way much more in Microsoft space.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Discord, also I think makes a certain level of sense, because it's that it seems to, it does seem to be where chats and things are going. But yeah, I think this makes really good sense. I think for where Microsoft is pitching itself, and as Gary says, Nuance has got such a colossal chunk of the marketplace already. I mean, I think isn't it used in, was it over half, 70% of places in the US? It's being used, and it's and physicians are very familiar with it as well. So it's Microsoft is basically buying a ready-made market almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they reckon the total addressable market is it so like $500 billion or something, some incredible amount of money.
It is, and it's not that they've struggled in that space. So I think it's really a good acquisition. It's one of those acquisitions you think, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they're also keeping on the executive team as well. I believe the CEO of Nuance is going to stay on and report to good old Scott Guthrie, who we've not heard from much of late. But I was pleased to see Scott's name in there.
Good old Scott.
I like Scott.
With his red shirt.
Yeah.
I like Scott because he always remembers my name, which is amazing. I've never met one.
That would be why he's executive VP. He remembers your name.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also knows his stuff.
He does know his stuff.
Well, isn't there a I think is it a video of a Microsoft conference where I think Scott Hanselman's on stage and the demo's not going well. No, the demo's going okay. The hardware fails. The figure fails. So Scott Guthrie comes on stage and just basically holds a microphone, so Hanselman can keep going.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. He's a great guy, Scott Guthrie.
Kind of, that's one thing with all these virtual conferences, because a lot of stuff tends to be recorded now, so things seem to go a lot better. You don't get the same tension of the demos failing when of a live in-person event.
That is true. I agree. I mean, I think it's the virtual conferences where they still have engineers doing live things, and those are always better because something happens. And I just think it's much more. It does engage, because otherwise, you say it's like watching just it is a pre-recorded video, and that's just a bit boring.
Yeah, I kind of I'm actually looking forward to. Maybe I don't know when it'll be next, but maybe probably next year, when you can actually go to an event, even a local event or a national event, and sit down on hard chairs and watch a presentation of someone like Gary doing a presentation and actually doing it real time, and you can ask questions and things go wrong and then you talk about them. That's the kind of thing I've missed about these tech conferences.
Nothing ever goes wrong in Gary's presentations.
Very rarely.
Nah.
Well, you do. It does, but you don't know it's gone wrong.
Yeah,
I do remember doing a presentation, and I was presenting. I had this screen in front of me and a massive screen behind me, but I couldn't really see the one behind me. And the one in front of me, which had all my code on and everything else, went blank about 2 minutes into the presentation. Somehow I managed to keep going on that one.
Yeah, I remember our events were fun, weren't we? That one we did we did a couple in Birmingham, didn't we? What the first one we did, that was a good one. When I remember that when we had quite a big crowd there and a big screen set up, and we had demo rooms, and that was when Microsoft were really interested in consumers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good demos on that where we could really sort of demo some stuff. I get kind of missing that kind of thing, so it'd be nice to get back to some of those things. And the road shows that were good as well. The Microsoft road shows where they took the conference stuff regional, so they were turned up in Manchester and they used MVPs to host events. That was good. I did enjoy those as well. So hopefully we'll get back to some stuff like that maybe next year. Once I've been vaccinated in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But community museums first.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what else did we have? Gary, is there anything you wanted to talk about this week?
Yeah, actually, I've got yet another reader's email, which this one I haven't got an answer to, so I'm gonna put it out there to the community if anybody knows how to do this. It's from a guy called Jeff, and he's saying I've been listening to all your chat about smart things over the last few episodes, and I've got a question about the Broadlink RM Pro. Is there any way to directly integrate this into smart things? Now, I've had a look into this, and as far as I can see, there's no way of doing it directly. You can do it indirectly, which is by using some things like there's an RM Bridge app which you can run on an Android device. So you'd have to have sort of like a separate Android device running, and then your smart things would talk to that, and that would then talk to the RM Pro to do it. So the RM Pro is a device which allows you to control RF and infrared devices. So basically, anything you can do with a remote control, you can use using the RM Pro to control it. Good device, great device. A lot of people use it. A lot of people have it on Wi-Fi, but integrating it into the greater smart thing system is, I think, a bit more of a challenge. So anybody out there knows an easier way to do that, or has any good ideas, let me know. Actually, let's go back. You know that app I was talking about I said I'd knock up for the Lightwave RF on the smart things to solve that problem. It's been downloaded about 400 times now, at least. So it's got some use. People have been using it. So
that's great. That
So and it does definitely makes a big difference in terms of speed of things going on and off and everything else. And I've just fixed a bug in it. If anybody's using it with an open closed device, I found a small bug in that, so I've fixed that. So don't re-download it and get the new version.
Actually, talking to the smart home, did you? I don't. The Alexa shows have had a UI update. Certainly the one I have in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
The original show, I think mine is the rectangle one. Yeah, so it's got a new kind of like a flat design, material design, interesting sort of modern UI. Which it's a bit little. It's got a bit more information. It's got using a split screen. Perhaps they're designing them for the bigger shows as well. So there's more information on the screen at the same time. Functionality seems the same, but
it's rolling out. It's rolling out gradually, so not everybody may have that yet. Now the other rumor which I have heard is that the new advanced chipset might be turned on in the UK for the new Echo devices fairly shortly. Which should be good, because at the moment they're pretty useless in the UK, because they don't, although they've got all this lovely improved microphones and everything else, the wake word response is really poor on them without that turned on. So they're actually worse than previous versions. But yeah, I mean, that's supposed to be coming fairly shortly. The other thing which I'm hearing rumours of is a new smart home hub for the Amazon devices. So which would run on the Echo. So I mean, I don't know if people know this because it's pretty well hidden. But if you swipe in from the right on an Echo show, you can get to a smart home screen, which allows you to actually touch the screen to turn lights and things on and off. But it's pretty poor, and it's not well designed, and the user interface is difficult to actually find your way around. But if there are rumours that they're coming up with something a much better designed version, actually possibly based from a designer of one of the well-known smart home systems. So that could be really interesting, and I can kind of see why Samsung are sort of pulling out the hardware business on smart things, because if Amazon do that, and the Alexa gets a really decent interface and probably a better rules engine than the routines are currently, you suddenly have something which is way better than something like smart things could do. And it's in every home almost. So it's
I have used that. You swipe across, but then if you're looking at plugs, and I want to say turn a plug on, you scrolling to try and find your plug. So if you could customize that and had like your foremost used devices on the screen at one time, then you could just go and tap. Then that would be useful. So it's quite good for that, and it doesn't show things like you can't see the switchbot thermometer temperatures through that, although you can through the app. And so if a smart home dashboard on a video one would actually be quite good.
Very good. Yes. So you can't see it behind me because I've got the backdrop. I was just looking at the Echo show behind me, just suddenly showed something, some new screen which I hadn't seen before. So
I just noticed them all popping up. I think it was the last week. It's just updated, and the weather's like permanently down the right and that kind of stuff. I think I'm still gonna have to the one that I've spot in the bedroom, but that's got that. I think it's a hardware fault of the video where it flickers.
Yeah, the flickering video, which they that. I mean, I'm absolutely disappointed in Amazon on that because they have got this reputation for customer service, but they're not replacing those, and they should do, because it is a hardware fault. It is a known problem. It tends to occur outside warranty, which is very helpful for them. But they should be replacing them.
Yeah, mine's out warranty. To be honest, it doesn't bother me because I don't look at it. It's just used as an alarm clock and just to check the time and everything else. So but if it was in the kitchen one where it's, where you're looking at it, then that would drive me crazy. But I'm not too bothered about it. But I've got to rely on those. But so I really like the ones with the display on. First, I wasn't sure what the point was, but once you get used to it, it's a nice device, especially in a kitchen. Mm-hmm. You get little recipes on there.
Now, the other thing I was going to mention, I can't remember if I've mentioned this on the show before, was that the motorway services EV chargers and the deal which was done fairly recently between GridServe and Ecotricity. Because one of the issues people always raise when they're talking about EVs is the poor charging facilities at motorway services. I mean, and I have to be fair to Ecotricity that at the start, when they created the electric highway, it was the driving force of why EVs are probably as popular in the UK as they are now, because they were one of the first people anywhere in the world to put EV chargers in at motorway services. But they did a deal with Nissan. They were primarily for the CHAdeMO, for the Leaf, which is one type of charger. And when CCS came along and started to become a standard, they tried to retrofit it to their chargers, and it didn't go very well. And they're very unreliable. People, you often turn up the motorway services and you can't charge, and that's where people like you and Richard and who are not going to put the effort into standing down chargers will go. You're on a journey, you just want to stop at your normal motorway service and charge while you're there. So what's happened recently is GridServe, who are the people who did the electric forecourt, which is rather brilliant. Actually, just quick aside to that, the gyms have opened in the last couple of days, and you can now go to the electric forecourt at Braintree and charge your car by cycling in their gym, because it adds to the power that the forecourt is actually generating. But anyway, so they have done this deal with GridServe. They bought 25%. Because they bought 25% of the electric highway, and they are going to change all the existing charges on all the motorway services to modern new versions, which are all fast charge on CCS. So, and we'll have at least 2 CCS charge points at every services which they have Ecotricity out, because at the moment some of the services haven't even got CCS. They still never got around to retrofitting them. They're still just CHAdeMO only. And they'll still maintain the CHAdeMOs, and they'll maintain the stuff for the Zoe as well at those. But they've also said they're going to start putting in extra charges at most of the services, another 6 charges at most services. So that's generally really good news, because GridServe are very proactive. They're getting the job done. They've already started this rollout and pushing them out. By the end of the year, we should find that it's very reliable to turn up at motorway services and charge your car, which is hugely good news. I think
it gives people that confidence then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might be something to persuade Richard.
Well, you can try. Yes, I mean, I'm actually just taking an ID3 out for a test drive next week. So, but yes, at the moment, the main concern appears to be what happens when we go to Wales and Norfolk, and there's almost no charging infrastructure.
Well, actually, Norfolk's got a lot of charging now. It's I was over there the other day. I actually had to do a trip out for business, and there's chargers all the way. Instavolt are starting to put chargers out. That's in Kings Lynn and Necton, where they've got little hubs now for charging. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And actually, mentioning GridServe, they're just about to build a big charging port at Norwich. So I don't think Norfolk's a problem anymore.
I see quite at Wales though.
Wales is still a little bit behind. although I know Wales is a huge target for a lot of the providers, so I think that is going to change very rapidly. I think there's certainly Engini or Osprey, as they are now have started pushing charges out to a lot of the pubs in Wales, which is good to see. And it did need to happen, and it's that I agree that is the one area. Although with an ID3 you get anywhere basically. It's got a lot of range. So. Well, depending which model you got for.
The one I'm looking at is the one that allegedly does 240 miles, but really it's more around 210.
Yeah. 210 is very reasonable. If you've got real world 210, that's more than enough for most journeys. Although if you really wanted to go far, you could always get the new Mercedes EQS, which has been rated somewhere about 480.
Wow.
Yeah, that's more like it.
No one needs that.
No, you don't. You honestly don't. I think there's actually a school of thought. I mean, I had this really good conversation with researchers from University of Coventry about this, whether you actually need to go, if you get the charging slightly faster than it's currently, whether you actually need more range than about 140 on most cars.
Well, arguably, I mean, if you're doing that many miles in the car, you should be taking a break anyway. You shouldn't be driving for that many miles in one go.
Yeah, I mean, technically 140 is 2 hours driving in the UK if you've made the speed limits, which obviously should be, and you should be taking a break every 2 hours. I know a lot of people. I often hear the argument, but I'll only buy an electric car when I can drive 600 miles without stopping. There's not many places in the UK you can actually do that, but yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. I mean, talk about the VW ID3, obviously buying the badge there by buying the VW version, because there's three. The ID3 is based on Volkswagen Group's platform, the MEB platform, which is shared by Seat and Skoda and one or two others as well. And they're all bringing out their own variants of it at various different prices, but they're basically the same car under the skin.
Yeah. The Golf syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Richard's got standard to maintain.
Not my choice, although.
Well,
after a recommendation for the Skoda carrier, I did actually, make the point. But it's I know it is yet. It's not actually been released in the UK yet.
Yeah. So it's a bit behind. The Cupra Elborn is coming out very, very shortly, which is the Seat's new branding, because they've got the Cupra branding for their sporty cars, which they've decided the EVs are, which of course they all are.
Yeah, well, I think what mine's going to come down to is what I can get hold of after next week's test drives in a big hurry, because my current car, all kinds of warning lights are flashing now. It's
warning lights are flashing down.
many warning lights are flashing on the dashboard, and they're not range lights. They're lights are saying, "I'm going to brake really soon now. You probably should get rid of me."
Yeah, that's your warning. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Well, I think that's just about everything we've got time for this week. We shall have a special guest joining us next week, talking about building from scratch ZX80 and other retro computers. So we're gonna have a bit of retro computer talk next week. Yeah, with a Microsoft MVP as well. So Gary, where can we find you and your EV chat?
You can find me all over the place, but Twitter's probably the best place to start, at Gary WA, 2 R's in Gary.
Excellent. Richard, where can we find you?
Mainly on Twitter, Richard_Speed.
Excellent stuff. Well, we'll be back same time, same place next week. I may have got some cables for my various equipment, but I'm going to try and focus one job at a time. I'm going to get that keyboard working, and then I'll do the retro computers.
Get the QL fired up. I really wanted a QL. Get the QL working. I'm envious of that now.
Yeah, well, I will. I just need a cable for that first, though. So, but yeah, I will get that going at some point. Maybe I can get that controlling one of my vintage synths. I don't know whether they had any QL software, music software. I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, MIDI controller for QL. I remember a MIDI app for the QL. Anyway.
You've probably through those stupid BT phone port things on the back of it. Yeah. Right. Well, I'm at iSticks on Twitter, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.